Strap on your seatbelt and prepare for takeoff. You're about to go on a journey. It's First Contact Radio with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Welcome to First Contact Radio, everybody. It is the 4th of September, 2019. We're just moving along here day by day, as they say. Everything's interesting. Is the world coming together or is it falling apart? Sometimes it's confusing to tell the difference, isn't it? But I believe both are happening at the same time. I believe that on one hand, the swamp is being drained. There is evil things being diverted. Bad guys are being put away. And it may look bad because those are a lot of the things that are being reported, but there are also good things happening as well behind the scenes. And a rebuilding that is taking place. Sometimes I see that people are trying to figure out this process and they only see the bad things going on. They don't realize that, there's a rebuilding that is taking place underneath. And the rebuilding starts with each and every individual. I had a conversation with someone today, and we were talking, and they used the phrase about being woken up. People are need to wake up, and I said I highly agree. But the ones I think need to wake up more than anything are the conservatives. And that answer was sort of a surprise. And they said the conservatives, why? They're the ones who are awake. Well, I'm going to have to say I don't know if that's necessarily the case 100% of the time, because when we look at what's going on, conservatives are the ones who are complaining the most because, oh, they're calling me a racist. That person called me a bigot. They called me this name. Well, if you truly are awake, then you're going to know that those are the tactics that they use. If you've been paying attention long enough and really are awake, you're going to know that the liberal democratic agenda has about 13 rules, Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. You'll know that rule number 5 is the rule they use the most, which is criticism, ridicule is your most potent weapon, and they wield it. So instead of always asking questions and wondering why are liberals acting this way, conservatives need to actually grow up, wake up, and stop coddling the little monsters, because we're in this situation that we're in because of all of the coddling. I can think back several years. Obama was still in office, and there was an incident at a university. I think it was University of Missouri. And at that there was a protest that was going to take place. And during the course of it, a couple of the black football players decided that they were going to join the protest. Now, at this point in time, nothing had escalated. It was just all getting started. People were all upset with something that the president of the university, one of the administrators, had said. They're doing this protest. Could have ended if the football coach would have had the courage to tell his football players, you're on scholarships. If you don't show up, you're off the team. But because that coach didn't have courage, because he was more important in winning a game on a field, he couldn't be bothered to tell his players that. And this escalated. And here we are now, from one activist agenda to the next, because people learned how they could simply override it. Because when you have coaches and persons, humans, adults, that are cowards and afraid to stand up, then eventually things get worse and worse. And from that point in time, we saw the Black Lives Matter thing get worse. We've seen the same thing happen with Antifa. We've seen the situation at the college campuses. And now we're to the point where we actually have a Hollywood actress calling for a blacklist. A blacklist. The ironic thing is she's on a television show that is about diversity. Characters that are diverse characters. And yet, she goes on that show and wants everyone to believe that we should listen to the diversity. But yet, the moment somebody speaks outside of that diversity, which should include everything if it's truly diverse, she wants to blacklist them, put them on a list. How ironic is that? These people in Hollywood are just out of their minds. Out of their minds. It's just sad seeing what has happened. Been out here for 31 years. 31 years living all around the Hollywood area, working amongst all of the liberals and all of their different projects and jobs for years and years and years. And now to see this behavior, it's really kind of disgusting. And it's really sad to see what they're doing to this state. But it only is going to get better when people start standing up. Now, I don't say get violent, never get violent. That's not the way to go. But you have to stand up and stop coddling. Remember how many times, oh, don't say anything. We don't want to offend the snowflakes. Well, the snowflakes got so offended that then they moved on to the next phase of being offended. Quit being afraid if somebody calls you a racist. Quit being afraid if somebody calls you a bigot or a homophobe or Islam or any of the other stupidity. They're just words. Listen, when you were in grade school, I bet you learned how to deal with these things. I'm going to remind you. Here it is, a simple little phrase. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Got that? So just remember that next time somebody who is not informed about what's going on decides that they are going to ridicule you simply by calling you names when you present to them information that is important. They're not going to listen. They're locked in a trance like an animal when it attacks. They're locked in a trance. Why is the Hollywood crowd, why are they the liberal crowd, why are they the ones that are the most susceptible? Because they're the most weak-minded ones. Okay? This is a mind control operation on weak-minded individuals, and the most weak-minded ones who are susceptible to being fooled and willing to fool others are all caught up in this game. So we need to figure out a way. First thing you got to do is you got to not be afraid of speaking up. When you see some of these people that are out there that are saying the things they're saying, calling you the names, when you see behind the mask and you see the little pimple faced kid who lives in the basement that is out for the afternoon with his other weird friends causing violence, and you realize these are the people, maybe you'll stop being afraid. Maybe you'll realize that the fear is just a perceived fear. Oh, what? That's part of the first rule of Alinsky's playbook. Make it look like you got a bigger bark so that they become afraid of you. Now I'm paraphrasing, but that's the whole idea. Make yourself look like you're bigger than you are. So people are afraid of their bark and not even thinking what their bite might be like. They don't have a bite. It's all bark, no bite. All ridicule, no substance. Now, getting to the issues of let's see here. Let's jump in and look at the Epstein situation. Hundreds could be implicated with Epstein court docs to be unsealed. This is from RT today. Secret court records set to be unsealed in the coming weeks could implicate hundreds in an alleged sex trafficking ring involving underage girls run by the late Jeffrey Epstein, a known confidant to many rich and powerful men. At a court hearing on Wednesday pertaining to the release of the still sealed records, a lawyer for Epstein's girlfriend and alleged madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, described the wide scope of the documents. The records include literally hundreds of pages of investigative reports that mention hundreds of people, the lawyer Jeffrey Paglia said. There are hundreds of people who could be implicated. The new cache of documents is part of a 2015 suit filed by Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre, who accused Maxwell of defamation by calling her a liar in a public forum, which he said subjected her to public ridicule, contempt, and disgrace. Epstein accusers say a litany of wealthy and powerful figures are implicated in his alleged sex ring, including UK's Prince Andrew, billionaire investor Glenn Dubin, former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, and Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz. Of course, we've all heard about former U.S. President Bill Clinton, who's also come under scrutiny after it was revealed that he took trips on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet dubbed the Lolita Express, while Giuffre claims to have seen Clinton on Epstein's lavish compound in the Virgin Islands. All right, so we'll see how that unfolds, but more will be implicated. Why is it that we're not really hearing all about this? Why is it that the media is not reporting this? Well, this article might bring that to light. Mainstream media, group I'm talking about, took money from Jeffrey Epstein to print positive puff pieces about the convicted pedophile. As independent media journalists and outlets reporting on all things Jeffrey Epstein continue to find themselves under the microscope, some important revelations about mainstream media's reporting of the convicted pedophile have come to light thanks to the New York Times. The double standard by which social media platforms, fact checkers, and news consumers alike judge independent versus mainstream media is, in short, incredibly unfair. Every time information all about the ills of mainstream media surface, it's important to take note and adjust the lens through which one consumes mainstream media accordingly. The latest revelation regarding the less than transparent side of mainstream media involved outlets like Forbes, National Review, and the HuffPost, and Epstein's attempt to improve his public image after his stint in the Palm County Jail back in 2009 after he pled guilty on 2 prostitution charges for soliciting a minor in Florida in 2008 in an attempt to avoid federal charges related to sexually abusing underage girls. His efforts resulted in publishing of multiple puff pieces, casting the deceased financier as an intelligent and selfless businessman with a passion for science. And while Epstein was indeed a philanthropist, these articles failed to mention his criminal past or current controversies. So there's more that you can look into here, but this is why there is the problem. Because bad people do things, and then other people who you don't think are bad people defend this person. I would say somebody who's defending a bad person is a bad person themselves. And when it's a media outlet that we're supposed to trust, now how would this happen at the media outlets? Certainly, it's not all intelligence operatives, is it? No, it's not. Because we have a lot of kids that are going into media after they come out of college systems where they've been indoctrinated. So they've already been indoctrinated. So they're going to go and they're going to continue to tell the lies because that is what they think that they should be doing. It's sad and it's shameful. It's the state of where our media is. But we're going to see the day when the media is going to crash and we're going to see something else in its place that's going to be even more honest and truthful. We can't have a system that is manipulating the information people get. That's as bad as anything we've read about in the books like 1984, in anything that talked about manipulation of human beings. It's going on right now. We're fighting it. Every single day we're fighting it. Basically Nazi propaganda techniques being pumped out into the world by Hollywood. By Hollywood. The same people who are pointing the fingers at others are the very ones who are involved in these nefarious activities. So sad and misguided. All right, jumping over here to Antifa. Story Antifa thought it could get away with violence against Boston's straight pride parade, but a judge is ruining their day. Antifa has had an easy time of it lately. No matter what violence or illegalities they seem to commit, they pretty much get away with it and only a few arrests here and there. What's more, the media that may as well sport pom-poms when they talk about Antifa, further putting social pressure on lawmakers to look the other way when it comes to Antifa crimes. Not in Boston, however. As Sister Tolda wrote earlier on Wednesday, 36 members of Antifa were arrested as they assaulted civilians and police while trying to disrupt the parade. The members were charged with various charges, including assault and battery of officers, as well as an assault with a dangerous weapon. Members of the squad, including AOC, Ariana Presley, tried to fundraise for the Antifa attackers and were roasted by the Boston Police Union. Apparently, prosecutors were attempting to have the Boston judge, Richard Sinnott, who was overseeing the case, dismiss the charges against 7 Antifa members, but the judge is standing firm, according to WGBH, and this has made leftist groups very angry. In arraignment proceeding at Boston Municipal Court Tuesday, Senate denied motions filed by prosecutors to throw out charges against 7 people, some facing disorderly conduct charges, some facing charges of resisting arrest. The judge's refusal to drop the charges at the request of prosecutors drew criticism from District Attorney Rachel Rollins, the ACLU, and others. Rollins said in a statement issued Tuesday night that Sano punished the exercise of individuals' First Amendment rights to protest, and she would use this legal process to remedy the judge overstepping of his role and for those people now tangled in the criminal justice system for exercising their rights to free speech. While the left seems displeased, others are relieved. The charges are serious, and I appreciate the judge not throwing them out of court, said Boston Patrolmen's Association President Michael Leary. I thought that there'd be some dismissals and people walking out of court high-fiving each other, thinking they had a victory of some sort, but I was happy with what happened today. According to WGBH, Leary told them in a phone interview that these arrests were rightfully made, and the officers were forced to arrest these Antifa members due to their violence. We don't arrest people frivolously. We arrest people because they're committing crimes. We don't want our police officers assaulted. They're just trying to do their jobs, and people are throwing things at them, calling them terrorists, all kinds of crazy names. We're just trying to keep the peace. Further story on this from the Boston Herald. You have 3 Antifa members here. Well, I'll just say it now. 3 girly men standing up here, getting their punishments or their words from the judge denying them. It says 3 of the 18 anti-straight pride protesters being arraigned Tuesday were ordered to stay out of Boston by a judge who said he wouldn't even allow one of them to visit their relatives in Jamaica's Plain. All 3 were accused of assault and battery on police's downtown parade, with 2 of them also arraigned in Boston Municipal Court on disorderly and resisting arrest. Others were arraigned Tuesday and were told to stay out of downtown. A total of 36 were arrested and must report to court this week. Judge Thomas Horgan said the 3 risked being put in jail for 90 days if they didn't follow his instructions. Stay out of Boston. Hogan repeated when the attorney for one of the men asked that his clients only be forbidden from downtown Boston so he could visit relatives in Jamaica Plain. We're going to have to go visit him then, Hogan said. The 3 are only allowed to return to their city for court dates and the lawyers' appointments, the judge added. Boston Benjamin Boyd, Kenneth Kraft, and Timothy Sage Rago were arraigned on charges, including assault and battery on a cop. All pleaded not guilty to shoving cops at the parade. Kraft is from Bethlehem, PA. The other from Providence. No one wants to talk to the Herald afterwards. All 3 are due back in court November 15th. And then in the other courtroom, Judge Richard Sinott denied requests from prosecutors to dismiss cases of 7 others. So it's good to know that there are those taking this serious. Antifa did beat on people and knowing what they were doing was wrong. They've caused violence, definitely. They've been doing this for a long time. I'd say the moment that an Antifa hit somebody with any sort of a weapon, whether it be a bike lock, whether it be a brick, whether it be mace, whether it be a rock, and certainly when it's a weapon that is shot at the ICE facility, I don't know why we're having such a difficult time in getting this group to be labeled a domestic terrorist group, but it's kind of well past time. Antifa is a bunch of thugs. I've had a run-in with Antifa. They were nothing more than a bunch of thugs that, in my opinion, useless human flesh that could just disappear and nobody would miss them. That's my opinion. Nothing but bad to the bone, and we could do without their evil intentions. All right, here's an article, very interesting indeed, because Marianne Williamson has been making some, headway in the media throughout this process that she's running. Now here's an article at Breitbart. Marianne Williamson, quote, "I didn't think the left lies like this." Presidential candidate Marianne Williamson revealed that she did not think the left was so mean and lied like this until she ran for president as an outsider candidate. I know this sounds naive. I didn't think the left was so mean, and I didn't think the left lied like this, Marianne Williamson told New Yorker's David Remnick in an interview. I thought the right did that. I thought we were better. Williamson accused the left of lying about her use of crystals and crystal gazing, telling Remnick that there has never been a crystal on stage at any of her events and there is no crystal in her home. She accused those on the left of falsely accusing her of having told AIDS patients not to take their medicines or implying that lovelessness causes diseases and love is enough to cure their diseases. I'm Jewish. I go to the doctor, Williamson said, ripping those on the left for labeling her as an anti science candidate who does not believe in modern medicine. Williamson has in recent weeks criticized the political media industrial complex and warned Democrats that nominating a conventional or establishment candidate could go up against President Trump in 2020 could be disastrous. Williamson will not be at the third debate in Houston next week, though she has met the 130,000 unique donor requirement for the second round of debate. She needs three more qualifying polls of 2% each to qualify. Criticizing the nominating process, Williamson currently said on MSNBC that there should be a deeper conversation than just the horse race and wondered why so few polls approved by the DNC were released prior to September's debate deadline. She added that she is not dropping out of the race, though, because she could qualify for October debate, and her campaign is about consciousness and inspiration. Williamson also warned the process obsessed Democrats could nominate a presidential candidate who specializes in insider politics games. Such a candidate, according to Williamson, will not be suited to defeat a phenomenon like Trump because that type of Democrat will bring a knife to a gun fight. Well, let's go to the very first statement here. I know this sounds naive. And yes, Marianne, it does sound naive. It sounds like you are very, very naive to think that this group is going to be a group that is different than they are. Was she not paying attention in 2012 when the Democrats made such a hard stance that they weren't going to include God in their platform? Did she miss that? Because if she did miss that, then I could understand how she might have made her way to the stage as a Democrat. But if she didn't miss that, then why would she be up there now if she knew then that they made such a hard stance that they were going to be against God? And why would she be up there? It's called being naive. She just admitted it. She didn't even realize what's going on with the party that she's supposed to be a part of. Maybe this might open her eyes. And maybe if she opens her eyes, maybe she might see things a bit clearer than she's seeing them right now. One can only hope. One can only hope. So let's move on. One last bit for today. In 7 days from now, 1 week from right now, on next Wednesday, is going to be the anniversary of September 11th. And there's a new study that came out. I'm going to do a show on that day that's going to be dedicated to 9/11 and only 9/11. And but here it says this is from Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. Fire did not cause third tower's collapse in 9/11. New study finds. September 11th, 2001, 5:20 p.m. The 47-story World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed into its footprint, falling at more than 100 feet at the rate of gravity for 2.5 seconds of its 7-second destruction. Despite calls for evidence to be preserved, New York City officials had the building debris removed and destroyed in the ensuing weeks and months, preventing a proper forensic investigation from ever taking place. 7 years later, federal investigators concluded that WTC7 was the first steel frame high rise ever to have collapsed solely as a result of normal office fires. Today, we at Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth are pleased to partner with the University of Alaska Fairbanks in releasing the draft report of a 4-year computer modeling study of WTC7's collapse, conducted by researchers in the University Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. The UAF WTC7 report concludes that the collapse of WTC7 on 9/11 was not caused by fire, but rather by near simultaneous failure of every column in the building. near simultaneous of every column in the building. There's a link here to click on so you can download the report. All you need to do here is fill this information out. Please enter your name and email address to download the draft report. This will sign you up to receive email updates if you're not already signed up, and you will be able to unsubscribe at any time. After submitting the form, you'll be taken to an exclusive page where you'll be able to download the report. After 24 hours, the download button will expire. So check that out, and this conversation will certainly resume in 1 week on the anniversary of 9/11. That was quite the day. The world changed drastically after that point. That was in 2001. It is now 2019. That's 18 years later. That means that it's possible and probable that there's a whole lot of people that were born after that time that don't know what the world was like prior to the year 2000. One, because they weren't alive during that time, and second, because a lot of information is not taught about what went on before then. That's why it is so easy for these young kids to say America was never great, because they haven't seen the greatness of America. Okay? They have seen the censorship of America. They have seen the police state of America. They have seen the attempted destruction of America. They have been taught in schools by people that hate America. And so it's very important that if we're going to move forward, that these young people need to understand what went on in the world that changed it so drastically, and how their lives have been forever affected. And how maybe that there's a whole part of the world history of this country that they are unaware of. So we need to find a way to be able to inform ourselves, inform each other, help the young people, but at the same time deal with the fact that they're running around completely ill-informed, completely trigger ready, so that if you say the wrong word, they're just going to, go nuts. We need to be able to put up with their nonsense and not be affected by the name calling, and then at the same time be able to give it right back, to shut them up. Sometimes the best policy, what I think, you got to get there before they do. If you know that they're about to call you a racist, you get there first and you let them know you're a racist. It'll shock them, because nobody has ever called them that before, because they've always believed they're on the right side. Oh no, only they can say those things. It's screwed up, but you have to be smarter. You have to know that there's this blind spot of intelligence, and you can't engage with that type of person in the same way as you would engage with somebody who is informed. So again, let's remember that these are all Americans. These are our brothers and sisters, our family, our friends. We don't want to throw them away. We're not looking for a civil war situation, but we are looking for a situation where we have a meeting of the minds, where we quit fighting with each other, where we understand that the problems can be fixed by working together, not digging our heels in and avoiding contact with the other because we don't like what they say. So it's all up to us. I believe we're the ones we're waiting for. I believe each and every one of us have to wake ourselves up first before proclaiming that we're woke to the world, because that's part of the problem. I think we need to put our egos aside, and I think we need to be able to look at all situations in an unbiased manner. But most importantly, we need to make God number one in our lives, because that's what's going to set things straight. Anything less isn't going to get the job done, because then we're just believing into the lies. And God is about truth, not about the lies. This world, the dark forces, the manipulations, those are the lies. And we've got to see past those, my friends. So put on the armor of God, see past the lies, see the truth. That's it for today. I'll talk to you soon. God bless. Peace. I'm out of here. FirstContactRadio.com.